Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. I had a question from a viewer who wanted to know what I thought about investing in foil cards instead of investing in just the regular versions of cards. And I'm just going to show you these beautiful Flesh and Blood foils while I talk about this because I think on average, Flesh and Blood cards are better looking than Magic cards. But what this guy was asking was essentially there's a multiple, you can imagine, in between the price of a standard card and its foil version. And so you can just take the ratio of the prices and you'll get that multiple. And what he was getting at was when the price of a card spikes, might you also think that that multiple expands? So do you get a multiple expansion on the foil? So say a regular version of a card goes from $10 to $20, it doubles. Might the foil version not only double from 50 to 100, but also go even further, say 50 to 120, something like that. So I started doing some research. I looked at cards that have spiked up recently and looked at the comparative prices of foil and non-foil before the spike and after the spike, and I really didn't see any good pattern. I went and looked at just long-term trends on some other cards, some older cards, to see if, well, does foil consistently outperform or not? And I couldn't see clear trends. In some cases it did, and in some it didn't. And then I kind of had an epiphany, and I thought, the reason here is this foil multiple that we might call it, which again is the ratio between the foil price and the standard card price. It is a dependent variable, and what that means is that it the number itself is a function of a whole bunch of other things happening in the market. Obviously, it's a function of the price of the two underlying cards, the foil and the non-foil version. But you have to think of the price of those cards are functions of playability, popularity, rarity, recent reprints, population, things like that. And so there are too many variables going into the calculation of the foil multiple in order for you to be able to say, oh yeah, the multiple will always expand when the value of the card goes up. Because when there's too many variables, you just can't accurately predict that. And so I thought it was an interesting question. The answer is somewhat disappointing that no, we can't really infer anything interesting. But I guess it's good to know. And this does kind of touch on one thing where, I've kind of been railing on against speccing on cheap junk cards recently. And one of the things that this foil multiple gets at with that is that you could invest in some junk card that's, say, $5, or you could invest in its foil variant that's already $15. And again, that $15 card is kind of getting you over the hump of fixed costs and shipping and market fee problems and things like that get you into the realm of investments that may be worthwhile. But if there's no particular foil ratio expansion that you can expect, you might as well just go with the cheapest version of a card and upgrade to cards that are worth more to start with. So what I mean is, don't invest in foil cards specifically because they're foil. Go find a different card that's not foil, but also meets the requirement of being over about $20 to start with. And if you do that, you'll get a benefit from an economic substitution effect. And so if you accurately predict that this card is going to the moon and that whatever set or is going to make it popular among casual Commander players, all of that stuff, if you get through all those hurdles and the card actually does start to go up and you're sitting on a pile of regular versions of it as opposed to foil versions of it, then if the foil version goes too high, there are a lot of people who would just say, I don't need a foil version. I'm buying this to play with, not for a bling in a binder. And, there are a lot of people who aren't too blingy with their cards and their sets. And they will substitute the regular version of the card in place of the foil. And so in those cases, you have additional selling opportunities because you have not invested in the foil card. So that's kind of my advice on that. But in general, I say don't invest in modern singles at all. It's a really bad way to try to make money, and on the long timeline, you will almost certainly lose money. Most people will investing in modern singles. But I thought the question was really interesting from the standpoint of, is there a predictable foil multiple, and does that number undergo multiple expansion at times when the price of the underlying card explodes? And I think the answer is probably no. If someone knows a better data set out there or a better analysis that's been done of this, it'd be really interesting. I would definitely be interested in seeing that. So if you do, let me know. Otherwise, click one of these video playlists that's coming up now. And if you like this kind of content, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot.